Hello everyone and greetings and welcome to Tea with Lily. I'm your host Lily Mensa, a brand strategist by day and a conversationalist by night. Wow, where have the last few months gone? It's been a while, hasn't it? A couple of months ago, early August, I decided I was going to take some time off, and then stuff happened, and as a result, I haven't been here, all for good reason. And as some of you who know my journey and what has happened to us in the last few months, it's been quite hard. But I couldn't let today go without celebrating International Women's Month. And because it's my first time coming back, I wanted to take this opportunity and to say cheers to my brother who created the Peace Star Martini. He's no longer with us, but I will be having a Peace Star, and this time in the form of a Bellini. So Douglas, here's to you. We miss you. You've left a legacy, and you've created so much for everybody to enjoy. So I'll just say cheers for now. And I have a guest, Kandeke. She's also having some water, but she's just going to say cheers before we start going, because I couldn't actually start anything without stopping to say thank you to him and to his legacy. But I must have a sip, just a sip. I don't want to get drunk on here. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about the menopause. Every year I have this fireside chat and I invite people, or I talk about it myself. I think the very first year I spoke about my harrowing journey about 4 or 5 years ago when I was in the thick of it. I've come through to the other side, and I just want to let other people know that there is hope, absolute hope. And as you know, life is my sweet spot. What you see is what you get. And I'm so grateful that you guys have joined me and are listening to what we're about to say, because it's still a very tough subject. Tea with Lily, as you know, is a space for informal discussions where we chat about topical issues over a cup of tea, and guests from all walks of life join me over a cup of tea. And today I have the wonderful, wonderful guest, Kandake Makonnen. Makonnen. Kandake Makonnen.
Thank you.
She is a woman of substance, so she's going to walk us through the good things about the menopause, how we can look after ourselves, the things we can do. And I know I've asked her to talk about food, because you all know I love my food. So we're going to talk about food and all sorts of things. But for now, I just want to ask her, how are you and how are you doing today?
Thank you, first of all, Lily, for inviting me on your show. Greetings to all of the listeners out there, and I would have to acknowledge the Most High and our ancestors. It's the way we do. I am very well, thank you. I take one day at a time.
Yes.
Always growing, always learning, and always giving thanks. So, even in the challenging times, it's something to learn and grow from. So, yeah, that's where I am today.
Oh, fantastic. And thank you so much for answering my call to come and share your wisdom. And I also want to acknowledge my other sister, my younger sister that she's become, Adjoa Mensa Abam, affectionately, aka Jackie Morrison. My sister, thank you for this introduction. And I can see you're calling us from Ghana. It is saying, my friend. So you have to answer. You have to answer in Chi if you're calling from there. I'm sure you have the answer, Jackie. So before we jump in and talk about celebrating the Ageless Goddess, I wanted to know where you're calling from. I know Jackie's calling from or checking in from Ghana. And so just let us know where you are. And if you're going through the stage of life, or just curious about where this thing called menopause is, stay close to them. You never know what my guests will bring. But let's hear. I need to read Kandeke's bio, and it's actually a very interesting. I had to Google some of it. So Kandeke Makanen has been in the field of holistic health for over 30 years. She looks 30 years old, doesn't she? Um, she's beautiful in and out, and I can sense it. She has also been in clinical practice for 12 plus years, working in private healthcare. She holds a Bachelor's of Science degree, honors degree in medical health herbalism. I didn't know there was something like that. And has operated out of various clinics, working alongside specialists in areas such as gynecology, diabetes, and endocrinology. I had to Google that one. I did not know what that was, but I'm sure she'll tell us what that is in a minute. Kandake has lived in the Caribbean for 15 years, following a holistic way of life as a Rastafarian, using nature as a teacher. I like that. Over the last 8 years, Kandake has been studying traditional African healing with the Dogon people of West Africa. She hosted a radio show on health for 5 years and has been teaching courses for 11 or so years and still counting. Her classes serve as an instrument for change in the lives of the course participants. She's currently writing her second book on female issues and holistic and herbal health. Wow, that is a fantastic bio. 30 years. Wow. What brought you to this area of work?
Well, really, the search for identity, for the tradition, many years ago, many years ago, but quite a few years ago in my teens, and looking into spirituality, I was always about that. And then going down the roads of Rastafari, where I left to live in the Caribbean. If you know, the way of life is very natural. We plant our own foods, we grow our own herbs, we use the medicine for
Yeah.
healing. It's about clean heart, clean mind. It's a whole way of life, and it's about back to Africa, at least recognizing your roots. So it all came in that package of Rastafari when I really started to dig. But of course, grandmother was, herbs as a little girl. Go and pick the herbs when I was in Jamaica. I used to, I was out there for a while. So it's been around, part of life, really, very much.
Fantastic. And but I've got some questions that I have for you, but I'm sure our conversation will be like a river stream going through various ways and coming back. So it won't be a direct straight line. But
Okay.
I started talking to you about the Ageless Goddess. And I'll tell you why I feel the need to talk about the Ageless Goddess when it comes to the menopause. Because at the end of the day, I'm really tired of this, how people perceive this as an awful thing. But I know that there are good outcomes that come out of the menopause. And I want us to explore that briefly. So what do you think are I mean, I know I don't have to buy sanitary towels anymore. Yay, that sort of thing. That's a byproduct. But there's so many other wonderful things that can happen to you once you come out of the other side. So let's explore a little bit about that.
Okay, so for different women, I guess it's different. So like you say, for some women, the fact that they don't menstruate, and go through the mood swings and whatever's happening in their body on that very practical physiological level, it's great. But also it is a time where you come to reflect within yourself.
Mm,
And for me, it's about a foundation. You come to a point in life where now you can look where you've been and look where you want to go.
yeah.
And yes, the body may be going through changes, but this is a natural course of life. So
Yes.
one of the
Yes.
things I would say is to go with what you can, what is greater than you, rather than resist. And There is very much in the Western culture a culture of resisting, aging, and
Yes, yes,
you know, um, becoming. But it's a time where, again, many years ago I was doing a workshop on women's health, and there were two women talking about menopause, and I think they summed up really well. They said that this is the time where I now get to explore life for myself. I've done the job of
yes,
motherhood. I've taken
yes,
care.
yes.
I've brought everyone up. I've been the good wife. I'm not going anywhere and leaving my husband, but I now can travel. And these women were going to be traveling the world together and experiencing life and knowing that they had done their bit in life. They'd done whatever career that. So it was a new beginning. That's what I
Mm,
would say
mm,
is a problem. It's a
yeah.
new beginning. It can really be a new beginning.
Thank you for that. Hi, Miss Yvonne. Thanks for joining us. If you have any questions about what happens after the menopause, because that's what we're talking about, because I think over the years I've talked about what happens to us, how awful it is, and I've shared the awfulness every year with you. Today I want to talk about celebration. So if there are questions that you have about what to look out for once you come out on the other side, ask one of bring the questions and we'll answer them. But I like the idea that it's a transition, isn't it? It's all part of life. This thing called menopause, and just as when we were growing up, just as we were having our first periods, um, we didn't know what was happening to our bodies. We were all confused, and then we got used to it. And then maybe 40 years later or thereabouts, I don't know, I can't remember, the body changes again. Our reproductive things stop, and we're talking about natural menopause rather than those who've gone through early menopause for medical reasons.
Areas. Hmm.
But this is our time. So it's something that we have to understand as women, that it is part of the journey of life, and to be accepted. You have said something about accepting it. Personally, I've come to that point where I got that acceptance maybe a year or so, but during lockdown, nobody accepted anything about anything. But this year, I've come to, yeah, lockdown brought its own different curses. But this year, I've come through the other side, and I have so embraced what the new me is all about, and being free, that freedom, and freedom of knowing your own personal wisdom. That you've gone through all of that. And also, one of the good things for me has been listening more closely to my body. The wisdom within the body that we sometimes take for granted is there for us. So, listening more to my body and using my body to teach me what it needs, so that I don't find myself in, okay, sometimes I go to the gym and break things, but I'd rather break things in the gym rather than break things inside. But it's about listening to the body, isn't it? And the body is there to teach us. So how would you recommend somebody like me, or somebody who's coming towards my age, listens to their body and get closer to what our bodies need?
We inhabit a human form, and this human form has certain requirements that enables it to function, and to function at its optimum. uh,
Mm,
we must feed from that which we came. So, one of
yes.
the things in terms of listening to the body is to give it the nutrients it needs so it
Mm,
can do what it needs for you to inhabit it. Yeah, because it's a vehicle.
yes.
And yes, it goes through stages, and the stage is what we call age. But this fits in with the natural cycles of life. And when you are in tune to nature,
Mm-hmm.
so if you're in the city, maybe, going for those walks, coming out, because again, you mentioned lockdown, coming out of the house and going to a river where there is some water, or going to, if you don't have a river, you might have, a forest near you, or and those are real sources of energy to help to reconnect you, because we are one with this universe. So it is a
Yes.
connection that enables one to become even more whole within oneself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think I would answer it that get more out of the Western city mindset that does everything and nothing.
Yes. That's
Promises,
everything and nothing. I like that.
and go back to the first world. The first world
Mm.
is the nature, that which all worlds are built upon. That's one of the things. Getting closer to nature in that physical sense. But of course, there are other levels, because as humans, we have other aspects to us, and especially when you're coming into this wonderful age. I can really find liberating, wonderful age.
Wonderful age. I love it.
Yeah, it is. It is. Because you have the ability to connect in a way that maybe you didn't have that experience and substance to do before. Some people naturally have it as a
Mm.
gift, but this is certainly a
Yes.
time when you can really connect. And in that connection with that source, actually, you can then turn and give your wisdom to the next generation. In many ways, sometimes, that wasn't passed on to us, which is why maybe when we come to this age, we're kind of like, oh, what's happening? Because maybe
Yeah.
moms didn't educate or edify their daughters coming up. Yes, there's one age at the menarche when you first start, but then there's the menopause age. So help to guide the sister through that age to bring her. So,
Yes.
you know, there are all those wonderful opportunities for us to link up. Link up.
Yes. Link up.
Mhm.
Thank you for that. One of our guests, one of our listeners or watchers, I don't even know, Koshi, my great friend, I went to school with her. Koshi Kwe has asked, thank you, Stakushi. We any special diet for menopausal women? So yes, I asked you to talk about that, and so please, the floor is yours.
Mhm.
What are the things that we can eat to make us keep the body strong?
Yeah, so as you know, I specialize in herbal medicine. So that is a specialized food. So I guess we'll come to that. But certainly as you get older, the bones may become weaker. So you're looking at things with the calciums in it and the
Mm,
magnesiums to help the calcium. So for bone health, which and this is why in holistic health we can't just talk about one thing. So the food, but also the exercise, they go together. You can't
yeah,
get away
yeah.
from that.
Mm,
So certainly, it's not that um difficult. I think if we can steer away from the things that are so sweet and the things that, if we can steer away from that and begin to look at, the I'll tell you from what I would say, the color look, the spinaches, yes, you've got the lettuce and the tomatoes, but you've got the avocado. Now I know, because I know we spoke about it, this thing about the carbohydrates, but actually we
yeah.
do need energy. We do
Yes,
need the
yes,
energy food. So, even if you do have the yams or the green bananas or the sweet potatoes, you can have them in relatively smaller portions, and then add your lentils, or
yes, yes.
have your chickpeas, or
Mm,
those are the proteins that we mentioned that helps with muscles, so we talk about bone and
yeah,
muscle health here. So it really is getting back to that natural uh, um look in play, but also, and the Chinese are very good at that. Things like mushrooms,
mm, yeah.
things like, certain of those mushrooms, they help with vitality. you
Not
know
magic
um
mushrooms, I hope.
no, maybe shiitake or reishi. Ginsengs, the panic. So here we're crossing over from foods into to herbs, but they use that to help to give energy and life. But
Mm,
maybe for women, we're talking more about the Siberian ginseng, because if it's Panax ginseng can have kind of hotness to it, and if you're already flushing, you might not
mm,
want to go for something like that. So there are the natural foods, which I certainly don't fight against the carbohydrates unless your diet, your blood sugar is quite high. So I think
mm.
things like yams in proportion, sweet
Yes.
potatoes, those things, but definitely your nuts, your seeds. If you like fish, I'm not a meat eater, but if you do eat meat, certainly you're going to go for the ones that back home are running around and eating the
Yeah.
grass. That's the kind of meat you want to go for, right? So I say close to nature, stay close to nature, and make sure you're getting your beetroot and your fruits. Oh my gosh, your fruits, your green juices, take them in, take them
Mm.
in. And that will allow the cells to revitalize. It will allow the body to get the energy, the electrolytes, the everything that it needs. Stay close to nature. That would be my advice.
Yes. I totally agree in terms of the food. Apparently, I'm not a food expert, but what I do know is that the closer the food is from the source, from the ground, the better it is for you. So, like you say, I mean, growing up, natural foods were a thing for us. Coconut water, cocoyam, spinach, all of that, yams, and those things were things that came naturally, and it didn't cost a lot. But we, pre this conversation, there was this talk about poor man's food. But the poor man's food is actually going to enrich your life going for, once you get to a certain age. And I have certainly increased or no, cut down on my, well, I say sugar is the devil. Sugar is the devil completely. Sugar is the devil. And I even tell people, sugar is the devil. Don't eat sugar. It will kill you. It's a slow killer. It's a slow burner. But at the same time, I reduced my carb intake, but increased more of the protein, whether it's eggs, whether it's fish and stuff. Because before I just have a bit of jollof rice and a bit of chicken, but now less jollof rice, more chicken, more fish, or that sort of thing, to make sure that I have that balance and a bit of salad, depending on either salad or I love my fried plantain. Please God help me.
Hmm.
But now I grill it. I grill my plantain just to take the fat off, but I still have my
Hmm.
plantain to go with my
Hmm.
jollof. And one friend said to me, "No, no, 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 that's carb on carb. You can't do that." But hey, I don't do it every day, so when I do it, I love it. So enjoying your food in moderation and know the things that trigger some of the hot flashes. But
Yeah.
Angela has asked a question. Angela Alute has asked a question. How do you eliminate the hot flashes, please? Oh dear. $1 million question. Over to you.
Okay. So yeah, I would say that there is a level of tuning in with your body, and the hot flushes. There can be many reasons for why people have hot flushes. Sometimes that there's stressors happening around you
Mm,
that increase your
mm,
hot flushes. Certain foods you might find, when you eat certain foods, it's heating. It increases your hot flushes. So you need to look at your lifestyle as well. That is really
yeah,
important.
yeah,
Maybe make a note of when you got the hot flushes and note what was happening before. So we know that hot flushes can come anyway. So certainly, so wearing cotton clothes at bed at night, if you're getting night sweat, make sure your window is open. Air is circulating through the room.
yeah.
But
Mm, mm,
yeah, so definitely those things. And then there are herbs that we use, and that is on a hormonal levels. to help manage, apart from foods that we're talking about as well, foods. We definitely use herbs. Now, the thing is, with different women, we call them phytoestrogens. They will gravitate to some phytoestrogens better than the others in terms of helping to modulate the
Please,
fluffy.
my education is not that great. What is phytoestrogen, or what's phyto?
Oh, phyto is plant.
Plant. Okay,
So,
sorry.
yeah, and so as you know,
There's nothing like a stupid question in my life. If I don't know,
and
I'll
it's
ask.
definitely not. Apologies. Sometimes you get caught up in just speaking the language of your area.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and what what you're doing. So for the person who asked about the hot flushes, there's a plant that we use called Angelica sinensis. The Chinese call it the female ginseng.
Okay.
And that's a plant that, there's many plants that are used as phytoestrogen. So just as we use the foods to give us our foundation for our vitality, to help our immune system, to help our body, then the plants are specialized to kind of go in and rebalance certain things that happen in the body.
Yeah.
So Angelica is one of those herbs. And I know I would say fortunate, but I have a very active life. I didn't get the hot flushes as such, but I remember I used to feel like these warm feelings. I was like, oh, those are interesting. And one day, I felt so. I was like, oh, okay. And then one day, I felt like they wanted to get really light. I was like, okay, that's the way you want to go. Okay. And I went to the plant kingdom and I reached for some plant, Angelica being one of them. And I took that and it just calmed itself down. That was it. So I never really troubled with that. But that's because I use diet. For 30 odd years, I've been non-meat eating anyway and always active. But I also use the herbs. So one of the things I would say, sisters, is get closer to the natural world. Get to know, like our mothers and foremothers knew, the herbs to go and pick, the herbs to take. What do we take at certain times in our lives? Reacquaint ourselves.
Thank you. And is it possible after this for you to drop some of the solutions in the plants or big word. How many syllables? Phytoestrogen. Phytoestrogen into the chat so that people can go and find that, and then we'll obviously drop your information in there for people to go and look for you and seek more advice and wisdom from you, because there's so much that we can do for ourselves. And 5 years ago, my life was in turmoil with this nastiness, and nobody really spoke about it. And I'd been in a meeting, and I'll be, fanning myself. Everybody was looking at me and thinking, God, hasn't she had a shower today? Why is she sweating so much? And but luckily people are beginning to talk about it. But there's so many things that people can use, and we can actually we can go with the medicine route, but I've always said use the healthy route first before you try the medicine route. And the healthy route for me was to just live on, go on a really strict diet and go to the gym like an Olympian for a while, just to get my body tight and feeling really strong. I don't do it that much, but I still like the feel that I get when I go to the gym. I'm not working like an Olympian, but I'm still working out to make sure that my bones will hold me when I'm in my 80s and 90s, that I'm strong enough and I'm eating well enough, and not just eating because I'm hungry. I'm eating just to sustain me, because that's all I need to eat. I used to eat just because the food was there and I felt this urge. But what I've learned is that half the time it's not an urge. It's not something to. It's not just to eat, but to nourish the body. So don't eat just because it's 2 o'clock, or don't eat because it's 6 o'clock. And those sort of things that I've learned about my body and what my body needs is helping me today to help me for another 20 or 30 years if God will give me that life.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
Yes.
in terms of going back to our roots and what we know, and as we spoke about the taboo and how people treat the menopause. How can we, as women or as a community of women, especially Black women, understand that this time of our lives, we have so much to give, and it is not a taboo; it's a celebration. And I go back to that celebratory mood that I'm in. That I have actually arrived. I've gone through the hell that was the menopause, and I have arrived. I'm still rocking my high heels when I can. I still carry and just when I can, and still living a life of goodness because I didn't let this thing stop me. And sometimes we let it stop us, and we think our lives are over. So how can we come to the other side and still feeling fabulous?
Yeah, good question. I would say to not necessarily see the menopause as like something that you have to struggle with. It's something
Mm,
that you can go hand in hand with as you journey through that phase. And I think that is one of the questions I ask, for example, when I do the workshops is, what is your perception of menopause and what is your
mm,
perception of menopause? And usually, many times, it's a very negative,
mm.
look. And
Yes, yes.
that and then when you examine where all of that comes from, it's actually not the same in every culture. Some cultures see when a woman is transitioning to that stage, she's now the eldership, she's the elder woman who has
Yes, elder.
responsibility in the community. They go to her, so her status has actually been lifted up to where it should be. And so the 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 paradigm that we're living in now creates that negative narrative, and it's about reforming the narrative to what it is. It's a time when woman, some say, ascends her throne, takes on her sacredness, and she goes through a journey to do that. But
Mm, mm,
that journey is your journey, and it's how you come to terms with you and yourself and your journey. And so there are many tools that we can use from the natural world so that when we make that transition, it can be much more smoother than if we so for example, let me give an example. Where I was in the local authority, they asked me to come and do a talk for menopausal women. And in the room, there was probably about 25 to 30 women. And what we found was that when everyone, said how they saw menopause and what it was about, the majority, say 28 out of 30, it was a very negative experience. But the two women who had looked at menopause as just a doorway to go through into eldership, their perspective had already taken away a lot of
mm,
the
mm,
preconceived, and they may have had a little hot flash because they did say they have that, but they also were walking, they also were drinking a lot of water, they also were looking at their diet. So there was a very holistic approach
mm, mm,
um
mm.
to it. So in terms of going through, don't see it necessarily as a battle, but a great time to learn about
Mm.
yourself. And yes,
Yes.
um you can get assistance with the hot flushes or the night sweats. Some women get the headaches, some women get the vaginal dryness. There's a plethora of things, but you actually can work through them and lessen them, definitely, if not
Yeah.
eradicate them. It's an approach.
Mm,
And
mm.
yeah, and you're going into your queendom. It really is
Queendom.
that journey. Yeah,
Woohoo!
it really is that journey. It
Yeah.
really is that journey.
So I am ascending to my queendom.
That's
Oh, I love
exactly
that.
what's
Um,
happening.
But you mentioned something that I also would recommend, the two W's, walking and water, water and walking, walking and water, water and walking. Those two things, as part of your daily mantra, can heal. Water is a healing agent in itself. And walking is just putting one foot, that's if you can, very good if you can, but find a way to move that body. Could I walk a lot, so walking and water, totally agree with that.
Yeah.
So we're sort of half, well, nearly done, I think. But you've said so much that I think will help those people who are struggling, that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and this too shall pass. This too shall pass. You have to walk through it, not round it, but this too shall pass. So, Angela, fear not. You may have to use the fan for a long time to come, but not as often. I still carry. I mean, even as I sit here, I have a fan here, and every now and again I have one, but it's not something that I have all the time, and I panic if I don't have one in my bag. So it's about finding ways to deal with it. But let's talk about just one tip for anybody who hasn't reached the other side yet, but somebody who is right in the middle and have done the first year without their menses, as we call it, and they're now starting that journey. What would be one tip apart from the walking and water that you can give them?
Oh, gosh, everyone's so different, and it's going to depend on where they are.
Yeah.
But I would say tuning into self. There
Yes.
is a inner wisdom, an inner voice that when you become in tune with, it actually guides you to where you need to go. And that is one of the things about going into menopause as well. Going into that, I'm going to stop calling it menopause, but you know what I'm talking about. Going into that time, tune in to yourself, listen to that inner self more, either through meditation, you know, the yoga practices, but certainly tuning in to self more. That's one of the things that I would say, because I always find there's a guidance, and some people will then liken that to the ancestors. We might
Mm,
liken it to, God or the divine, but tuning in, getting more in line. Because
yes.
when we get to this stage in life, if you think about it, we're at a unique spot that others haven't been through. And
Mm,
what do we now turn back and face life and give?
mm, 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 mm.
So I know we're going through a journey. And like you say, that too shall pass, but there is just so much to learn. That's what I found. There's so much to learn. So tune into self. That's what I would say.
Yes.
Tune into self more, to the higher self.
Tuning, tune into yourself, tuning into your divine. Listen to your body. The body has its own wisdom.
That's right.
So tune into that. Angela, yes, you may share this recording as many times as you like. We're here to share, we're here to educate, we're here to edify one another. And the more that people hear the story or people hear of the tips, the better that fear of this thing will go. And we can talk about it naturally as part of giving birth, or things that where once upon a time, you thought that it was something that people didn't talk about, but now people talk about it. So it's part of life's the tapestry, a rich tapestry of life. Um,
Okay.
right, where are we? So how can we find you, whether it's via email, website, Facebook, or Instagram? Do you have any? Where can we find you? What's the best place to find you?
So I can give you email and website, telephone number, to contact. I
Yeah.
do run women currently doing that now. And we do have on one of our women's courses something on menopause. But I just wanted to say, I'm going to give that just before, there have been studies where they have seen that when they did uh, took reports from women in particular communities, they found that women who were in communities where when they got to this age, menopausal age, that they had a status in the community, the reporting of symptoms was lessened as compared to
Mm.
women who were in places like cities where after the menopause, what then? Like
Yes.
there was, so they found that the reporting of menopausal symptoms was higher amongst those women. So I think there's something to say as well in the outlook. So they have been doing studies and looking at how psychologically effective, but then of
Mm.
course diet and so forth. So in terms of contacting instrumental health.
Instrumental health. Okay.
Yes, instrumentalhealth.co.uk. That's the website. Kendake1 at yahoo.com if you want to contact me. And Kendake is KANDAKE1 at yahoo.com. Yeah. So if you do want to know more, please do contact. But yeah, I want to thank you, Lily, for
Oh, this has
yeah,
been,
having
like I
me this
said, so
platform.
edifying, and also reaffirmed my thinking that perhaps in the cities or in the Western world, especially, but it's definitely in the cities, being youthful comes before wisdom and age. But as we're getting to our queendom, it's my new word, and I'm going to say all the time, my queendom. In fact, I've got that. I think I'm there. As we get
You
to our
look like
queendom,
you are.
we have to realize and own our own the value that we bring, by finding ways of walking into a room unapologetically and with purpose. Because just because you're having a hot flash doesn't mean that you don't have anything to bring to the table. So yes, by all means, carry your fan, layer up if you have to, because one thing that I found helped me a lot was about layering in my clothes. So layer up if you have to, but walk in there with your head high and say, I have 30, 40 years of experience that you won't find in any textbook. Do you want it or not?
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So,
Walk in there.
um, owning
Yeah, I
our
was
own
definitely,
queendom. Yeah.
definitely just being, there's no other you, there's no one like you. So your very presence there says a lot, and you come with all of that wisdom. There has to be a place because it's part of the natural order. So it's really about us retaking our place and knowing our place. No one's going to tell us. We have to know our place and what
Yes.
it is that we have to offer when we get to this place. So whether we're having a little hot flush at the time or so on and so forth. And like I said, there are natural means that you can take to bring that down, okay?
Yeah.
Or to
Yeah.
get rid of that, then yes, it definitely is about walking there. There was this 71-year-old woman, I don't know if you saw her, absolutely fabulous. Absolutely. She was a vegan chef. Oh man, this woman looked proper. And they were just doing the green juices and the vegan food and the
Mm.
lifestyle, and and just absolutely living life, so definitely
Yeah.
the
I
natural
must
order.
admit, I did a vegan thing once, and that was quite interesting. And
Mhm.
I remember at the time, we had food at home, and I said, "This is a we're having vegan today. And him indoors was like, if you're doing vegan, you do the vegan by yourself. I said, okay, so you're not having lunch then. Guess what the lunch was? And I'm sure Mama Adjoa will tell you, the vegan food was, I don't know if you've heard about red, which is fried plantain with bean stew. It's one of the most delicious meals you will ever taste. And this man was just looking at the food. I said, it's vegan food, you're not having any. It's quite funny because, men don't, well, some men don't want to even think of the fact that they'll have to do without meat. So I said, well, then that means that you're not having our lunch. And he was like, but that's not vegan. I say, yes, that's 100% vegan. I thought that was quite funny. But I digress.
Yeah.
So we will put all the your emails, the website, your training courses and things that you do, and whether there's a discount or not for those who are listening today. I'll leave you to decide that, but everything will be.
We can do that.
Sorry?
Yes, we can do that.
We can do that. People, do we want a discount? Yeah, we do want a discount.
Let them contact and then we'll work out your discount. No problem with that.
Yeah, so just put hashtag Tea with Lily and Kandeka will give you that discount. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your wisdom. It's been really, really good for me to hear that my life is not over and it's just about started. I'm loving it. But I understand. Sorry?
Yes, it's just beginning.
It's just the second phase, my second spring is just beginning, and I'm actually loving it. But I'm so grateful for your knowledge, your wisdom, and sharing so selflessly. Because I wish I had known some of this when I started my journey about 10 years ago. But you know what? You can't have everything. So thank you so much, Kandake. And guys, thanks for joining Tea with Lily, and of course those who are doing on Catch Up too. My name is Lily Nadia Mensah, founder of Links Media, and here to answer all your burning questions. And happy International Menopause Month. And until next time, do take care of yourself and may everything that you wish for be the least that you receive. Ms. Kandeke, thank you.
Listen,
With everything that you also bring to the table, that you have brought to us, we can use it to make our lives so much better. So we're very, very grateful for your time. And thank you, Miss Adjoa, for the intro. So we will finish now, and grateful for everything. We'll talk again soon. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.